Welcome back to Radio Blue Mountains. You are listening to The Business Show, and it's our pleasure to welcome back to the show. He does step in on occasions, but Andy Manuel from Mortgage Choice in Blaxland. So Rob's off doing a training course or something today, and he's sent the very knowledgeable Andy in to talk to us today for the finance segment. And Andy, you're going to talk to us about fear, and I think it's an awesome segment to talk about, particularly after what we were just chatting with Karen around the market and where is it going, and that, you know, there's a number of fears that you sort of have to overcome, isn't there, when you're thinking about do I, don't I, what do I do? So talk to us about your interpretation of the fear in the market.
Yeah, well, look,
or the financial world.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk about fear in the financial world. So often people have very good intentions about, you know, their financial decisions, but from my experience, often fear can get in the way and actually, you know, sabotage that, and we end up doing nothing because we become paralysed in fear.
Yeah.
And so you never really advance yourself financially because you always get stuck in the fear of what if and that type of thing. So, yeah, same, I guess, being an ex-maths teacher, I saw kids getting stuck in fear with, you know, maths problems, and it sort of came down to giving them the tools and the skills to be able to navigate those fears so that they could actually start learning.
Yeah.
So, same thing with financial decisions. It's giving people tools and skills so that they actually can move forward with their financial decisions.
Yeah, I think our industry as a whole is really morphing. And I think those of us that have been around a long time and are good brokers, we've always educated our clients, but it's becoming more prominent that that's what consumers are after, isn't it? That education around how do I make an informed decision?
Well, it's becoming more complex, okay? So the APRA and ASIC are pulling more levers, making things more difficult. And so it's much more complex to get a loan, and it's just complex in general. So it's really, how do I navigate those decisions, those complex decisions, and that can be difficult. So it's about getting educated, having the right skills and tools to be able to navigate that.
But isn't it also just about the fact that it's always going to be a risk? I mean, nothing is ever going to be perfect.
Correct. There will always...
So you reckon suck it up?
Well, there's always going to be. I mean, what are you going to do? Be 80 and say, gee whiz, now might be a good time to be a first home buyer?
With every investment, there is a risk.
Yeah.
Whether you're buying your first home, whether you're buying investment property.
Getting up in the morning can be a risk.
However, you can minimise your risks.
Yeah, so how do we do that?
Okay, well, I think when you think about it, if you can be a jack of all trades but a master of none, okay? So it's hard to be knowledgeable in every area of finance. So it really means you have to leverage off experts in the field, okay? So for me, it's, you know, when I'm making financial decisions, I make sure that I've got a team of experts around me.
Yep.
When it comes to tax time, people pay good money to see a good accountant. Why? They can see the value in that at the end, that they're going to, whatever seed they plant, when you plant a seed, some people find it hard to let go of the seed, which is cash, but you got to know that when you plant the seed, it grows into something much, much bigger, you know, particularly if you plant it in the right spot, water it at the right time.
If you've done your research around all of that stuff, if you're just going to stick it in a bit of clay and hope that it's going to bloom.
That's right. So it's about taking the guesswork out of it. A lot of people think they have more knowledge than what they actually do, and it's a bit of an illusion. But yeah, if you ask a few questions quickly, you can sometimes determine that a client doesn't have much knowledge on that area and would really benefit from some expertise, whether it be a broker buying a new house, an accountant with his tax, or his or her tax, you know, a property investment specialist when buying an investment property that does market research, not just, you know, flogging houses off the plan, but an actual research specialist. A good conveyancer or solicitor, you know, when it gets to a complex deal that they're putting through, all these things can help minimise risks and helps you make a better decision at the end of the day.
Because this is the thing that we find, isn't it, that one of the things that I often say to my customers is I don't expect you to know my job. Whatever you do, Mr. Client, I couldn't walk in and do that job today. But people feel like when they're buying, particularly their home, their first home or their home to live in, their security, their roof over their head, that because it's so personal to them, they should know this stuff. But yet, and everyone around them becomes an expert, don't they?
That's right.
And you can, so how do they sort of navigate through those kind of, trying to remove that Pop said, this is how you do it, you need 20% deposit and...
Well, and that's right. I think you need to build relationships with reputable
professions.
Yeah, professions. So, because it's about trust. You really need to trust, whether it's the mortgage broker or, the property specialist or
your conveyancer,
your tax accountant, all of those.
Your hairdresser. Just as important.
Oh, I don't think Rob ever goes to one, so...
No, but Andy looks well groomed,
Yeah.
so he trusts his hairdresser to, because what if you come out with a...
Well, sometimes your hair isn't worth $1 million, but a property is, and so not that money's everything, but...
So you think we should be more specific about the people we choose to partner with when it comes to making those bigger decisions than your haircut?
But I'm just
Probably
saying...
some good advice.
I'm just saying it is, if you're buying a property, it's a big financial investment. And so why would you try and skim
100%.
on the expertise? Because, it's hard. It's like anything in life. It's often experience in that field that you learn tricks. Even being a mortgage broker now for 18 months, I've learnt so much in 18 months. Rewind 12 months, there was a lot I still didn't know, and it's just, as you get expertise and experience in the field, then you start to learn different things, which then you can pass on to clients. And if clients try and take shortcuts, then really they're just shooting themselves in the foot, because, doing 3 weeks research on the internet sometimes isn't enough. It might be better off researching the best professional to get advice off.
Yeah. Because you nailed it when you said, you've been working in the industry now for 18 months and you're still learning. And so, how can a consumer expect to be able to understand? You're doing it 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, probably more so, your research and learning, and yet I think it's a funny thing with the consumers, because I do think because it is so personal to them and it's such a big asset that they tend to just take on that responsibility. But
I think it's also fear in making that first phone call, because nobody really likes to admit that they don't know something, or that they're not good at something.
Point, isn't it? It's about not addressing that fear.
And that's what I wanted to talk about
and
today,
also,
is trying to say that, look, that fear will often keep you crippled and paralysed, and you'll end up not making a decision because you just get paralysis by analysis virtually. You just can't make that decision. And so sometimes it's about getting help. So one of the other things I learned in education was this program called How to Learn. And it wasn't just learning content, it was learning skills like, if you get stuck, be resourceful, ring someone who might know. And then there's, using those resources, and there's reciprocity, so copying someone else that might know how to do it. So modelling off someone else. So these types of skills that will help you get through where you have roadblocks sort of things.
Yeah.
So it's trying to get past the roadblocks so that you can actually, start to make decisions and feel better about yourself. But
there's also probably not just fear, but a bit of embarrassment as well. Like, my finances aren't good enough. They're just going to laugh at me because, I can't afford to put petrol in my car most days.
Definitely.
Then you probably can't afford a mortgage. But I think to that
point... Yeah, but they
point,
might be able to if somebody actually looks at it and what they're...
Gives them even a budget, like to your point, Andy, some structure around, okay, today your finances are a little bit all over the place, but let me show you how to tighten that up. Let me show you how to guide your way through this.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's like just bringing it back to the school setting again in education.
Yeah.
You would see kids that often would have fear of asking a silly question.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time I'd start my lessons just with, talking about fears, and there's no such thing as a silly question, because if you don't know, you're never going to know unless you ask. And most, 99% of the time, 10 other kids had the same question and didn't know those type of things. So it's about, for clients, I really like them to try and think out loud and ask those questions, because those roadblocks, which are those thoughts, are never going to be addressed unless they actually
come out.
ask the questions.
Yeah.
They come out, they can be addressed, and then they can actually move forward past that roadblock. So.
And I think that you're absolutely right. And Catherine, to your point around the embarrassments, I think fear and embarrassment go hand in hand, because you might already be in the market, you might be a homeowner, but you might have got yourself into a bit of a pickle with, finances here, there and everywhere, and then that embarrassment to actually reach out and get some good help to how to fix this. And there are options available, and people like yourself, play in that space all the time, that you can give that advice and show someone how to actually get through those circumstances.
That's right. So, when it comes to getting finance, to me it would be nuts not to use a broker, just because they will know all the lender's policies, and, so it's about navigating the complex field that we're in at the moment, and a broker can really help you do that. Financial planner can really help you look at your whole overall situation and look, whether it's wise to do another investment or not, or to restructure your finances in a certain way.
Yeah.
So it's leveraging off the experts in each field when it comes to finance, and that is going to give you a whole lot more success. And that seed you plant will hopefully grow into a much bigger tree.
And particularly when you don't have to pay for the service, it's a bit of a no-brainer, isn't it?
Well, that's right. That's what I love about being a broker, is you don't pay for our service. And so why not leverage off our expertise?
Why
and
wouldn't
it costs
you?
you nothing. So,
So, Andy, if you did manage to strike a chord with some of our listeners and they're thinking, you're the man they need to speak to, how do they find you?
Yeah, so you can call me on my mobile, 0427 157 329, or email me at andrew.manuel, Manuel, at mortgagechoice.com.au.
And you're mostly at the Blaxland office?
Yeah, so I'm at the Blaxland office, but also go to Glenmore Park Shopping Centre and Penrith every now and then as well.
Next time you're at Penrith, you need to come and say hi.
Yeah, that's right. So,
He's afraid.
Nah. Plenty of work to go around.
Rob, yeah, maybe. Actually, we were having a bit of a moment in our office the other day, and Tim was out the back because we have to do a bit of car shuffling around because we only have a small car space, and one of my team was having a bit of a moment, and I said to him, "Oh, can you hear what's going on in there?" And he's obviously your financial planner down there, and he's like, "Oh, I feel for you brokers at the moment." No, it's okay, but I was a bit nervous because she was really letting them fly, so I was worried what he could hear out the back. But Andy, thank you so much.
Banks can do that to you.
Yeah, they can, can't they? Thanks so much for stepping in for Rob today. And like I said, if anyone does have some fear that they want to overcome in regards to their finances and get some good advice, then give Mortgage Choice at Blaxland a call, or drop in there, or send you an email, Andrew Manuel at mortgagechoice.com.au. And I can't repeat your number, I'm not that clever.
No, that's okay. No, well, thanks for having me on.
No, thanks
You're
so much.
welcome.